Hello. It is Brett Taggart of Hardware Diversity Discussion. It is actually new stream, new week, and I haven't done the H.D.D show for a while. Haven't actually gamed for a while because I've been so frantically trying to sort out computer issues. It's not even funny. It's just madness what's been going on in terms of trying to get this thing to stream properly, and so I thought I'll take the initiative and do what I used to do back in the day, is upload YouTube videos. I've got a good internet connection now, so that shouldn't be a hindrance like it was back in the day when I was on my first custom built PC, which was, Core 2 Duo rig, and I used to record Halo gameplay and stuff like that. I thought I'd be a little bit more around my live sort of stuff, which happens on Twitch, but I have made a new Twitch, so that will be linked in the description of the video, and go follow me there on Twitter as well. I haven't made a new Facebook. I generally don't post a lot of my computer stuff out on Facebook. I just don't have a huge audience. There is a couple of pages where I am active, but it's more Twitter and Twitch will be my main avenues there. So yeah, I did talk a little bit about my computer stuff in terms of what I've done. Yeah, I've got an 8-core FX processor and an Asus M5A99FX Pro 2.0 motherboard, 16 gigs of RAM. So got the same GPU, which is the R9 290X times 2, which is the Power Color Devils 13 edition. Great card. I thought it was dead, but it seems to be living on. So whether that's kind of what's happening or not, I don't know. I've got the Silverstone Raven 4 case and all that kind of stuff. I've got a new mic. You probably will hear it in the video, but this is the Blue Snowball. I had to pick it up yesterday, and I thought, well, what a good chance to do it as on a video, which is fairly uncompressed audio compared to what you get on Twitch. So I think that'd be kind of cool. I've got some juicy topics here today. Some of them are a little bit old. I felt like talking about them. I was going to talk about them the weekend. DirectX 12, Xbox, bit about Canon, Amazon, Acer, and Seagate, and something about NASA. So hopefully we'll get onto them, and got a new logo, got everything new sorted. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have it sorted this time, and actually, so you can find me a bit easier around, because I've got Twitch as Carsman50, Twitter as Carsman50. Thought that's my more personal stuff, and I'd actually have the my active kind of talks and my gaming and stuff like that on my Hardware Diversity Twitch and YouTube, because I thought that's where it belongs, and that's what will happen, because having my personal stuff related to my personal things, and my show stuff related to my show and what I'm actually doing online in terms of that, is definitely a good place to start. So we'll start off with a weird topic. This is by eTechnics. Their site is horrible, but hey, if they have to reload every time you want to load the page, that's not my issue. But this is just something recently that came out. Unofficial service pack released with Windows 98 Standard Edition. Supposedly there was a patch. I don't know, somebody created it. And basically it's regarding Windows 10, and saying that basically everything's about Windows 10 at the moment. But basically there's a service pack that's just released, which collects all the updates, and basically you can update Windows 98, which is absolutely crazy considering that is almost as old as I am, and it adds some few text, adds up all the updates. I wonder, a bit of comedy there, whether they'll actually stream the telemetry systems down from Windows 10 and Windows 8 and Windows 7 now as well, back down to Windows 98. Whether they'll sneak some hidden update in there for people still using it, who knows exactly. But that's good to see that Microsoft, well, not officially supporting Windows 98 still, but supposedly you actually get some stuff there in terms of updates and patches and things for Microsoft software that you're still somehow interested in using on Windows 98. Because I used Windows 98 after 95, and it wasn't as nice as 95 in my opinion, but it was still functional. It didn't kill your computer, so that's not terrible. But bit of a joke here before I get into the serious stuff, which is DirectX 12, because everything's talking about DirectX 12 at the moment. it's kind of a big issue, and we will definitely move on to that. So this is an old OC3D article, basically talking about asynchronous shaders, which has been the hot topic of the last few weeks, in terms of who supports what and what DirectX 12 is and how much of a feature set you should be worried about having, because, well, quite frankly, if you don't support DirectX 12 fully, then you don't support DirectX 12 at all in terms of in some cases. So being able to identify that and correctly advertise that is probably going to be key, especially when Windows 10 supposedly is the big upgrade for a lot of people, is upgrading to Windows 10 for the DirectX 12 features. So we've got a slideshow here. We've also got a video. I suppose we could probably play that for you folk out there who want to watch it. I'll just turn desktop audio on, and maybe that will play.
At the heart of all AMD's graphics core Next-based GPUs are large, highly parallel computation engines capable of processing many thousands of individual pieces of data at the same time. These engines are fed by one command processor and multiple asynchronous compute engines, or ACE. The command processor handles the main graphics queue, and ACEs handle compute queues. ACEs enable the GPU to process multiple compute tasks simultaneously, increasing GPU efficiency and boosting performance, crucial to reducing latency and delivering consistent frame rates. Gaps between rendering tasks leave part of the GPU idling, which in turn reduce GPU efficiency. Asynchronous shaders address this by scheduling compute tasks asynchronously or concurrently with graphics rendering tasks without waiting for current rendering work to finish. Submitting tasks is easy if they're coming in order from a single source, but gets trickier when they're being submitted from multiple sources. New APIs like DirectX 12, Vulkan, and Mantle enable multi-threaded task submission. The traditional way of handling this is like a traffic light. First, one stream of commands gets a green light to submit to the GPU, while the other queues up at a red light. Then at some point, the lights change and the first stream stops while the other stream submits. This approach has a couple of issues.
I actually can't make the video bigger unless I put it on YouTube,
unused, and there's no sense of
I think you should get the idea,
for
hopefully.
more urgent or time-sensitive tasks. Lack of prioritization and the ability to interrupt work in flight can lead to large processing latency. A partial remedy involves preemption, prioritizing some tasks over others. High-priority tasks are executed, while low-priority tasks are suspended. Preemption deals with data traffic timing issues, but task switching overhead can actually lower overall efficiency. However, not all preemption techniques are created equal. If performing course-level preemption, such as on draw and compute task boundaries, there are no real-time guarantees if a large draw of computer tasks have to be waited on. Asynchronous shaders provide a full solution as they operate like a highway, eliminating traffic lights and scheduling issues and enabling tasks for multiple sources to be submitted to the GPU and processed simultaneously. Using multiple command processors, the asynchronous compute engines in AMD's graphics core Next GPU architecture, each queue can submit commands without waiting for the other tasks to complete. The result? Vastly improved GPU efficiency that boosts graphics processing performance, reduces latency, and delivers the consistent frame rates that are vital to an immersive and lifelike gaming experience.
So that is the asynchronous shaders kind of rundown. So that should theoretically be something that is definitely what the big impact of what's been happening in DirectX 12 has been about. And basically they introduced this in 2011. AMD's supported asynchronous shaders since their first generation graphics core Next hardware, based on H.D.D and down and Hawaii and down and all that kind of stuff. So they've actually been really good about supporting that. It's only saying that yes, we're going to have all our products compatible, before they even are actually supported, which is absolutely crazy stuff. So basically, this has highlighted that the NVIDIA stuff on the hardware level has not actually supported this technology, as it is supposedly a hardware implementation, and it's how the shaders are arranged and organized, and being able to allocate tasks and things like that. And basically, NVIDIA is, but they're trying to work around a software patch at the moment, because there's a huge rant from Oxide, which makes Pillars of Eternity, basically talking about their benchmarks on various AMD and NVIDIA hardware, and pointing out that basically Pillars of Eternity ran a lot better. There's a PC Perspective article, actually. I may have that. I'll have a look here. Yep. Ashes is Singularity, not Pillars of Eternity. I'm a bit wrecked today. But here we go. There's a DirectX 12 benchmarks with DirectX 11 scaling as well on a Core i7 5960X versus a GTX 980 and a R9 390X. As you can see here in this photo, it is about at least 128% faster than they are in DirectX 11 on the AMD. There is a bit of a performance improvement at 1080p on there, but this is the heavy benchmarks. Obviously, some of them are a little bit canned, but generally speaking, you do definitely see an improvement. And what was also interesting is about using lower end CPUs, about how much of a performance gain you get, and same with AMD processors and things like that. And basically saying to get optimum performance of 5960X is actually, it must be a very CPU bound game, even though Core i7 5960X is still quite an overpowered, not overpowered, but overkill CPU for most gaming activities. So that's kind of interesting. So here's the performance differences between DirectX, the FX. I've got the 980 and 390X. So the 980 is DirectX 11, DirectX 12, and basically that's kind of I did read about that, so it is but they're saying wanting a Fury X Series 980 Ti. So we are actually going to go into that right now. Not much to say apart from that it does actually run a lot better on AMD hardware. I'm not bagging NVIDIA. A lot of people say that I am a little bit biased. I'm a little bit biased as a moral kind of thing rather than an actual product, because I know AMD does not perform as well as NVIDIA in most cases. Depends on kind of how you set it up and kind of what price bracket you're looking at. There is some instances where AMD does come out on top for the price bracket that you've put a head-to-head competition with, but generally speaking, I mean, NVIDIA do make good products. They don't. They, for what they are, and what you pay for them, you are getting top dollar, you are getting top quality. But I feel that, to me, their optimizations and their software support that they give certain developers and certain parties I think is a little bit wrong, and they're paying themselves to get ahead. And yes, they do have the big budgets, and they do. I mean, AMD did that as well. I'm not saying AMD's completely perfect, but with TressFX enabled and stuff like that, you still get better performance out of an NVIDIA card on Tomb Raider and some of the AMD optimized games. So I mean, I'm not saying that NVIDIA is a bad has bad products. They just seem to have bad ways of promoting what they do. With NVIDIA GameWorks and all those kind of things, which I've talked about before, but that's just my feelings towards what they do and how they go about themselves as a company. And I mean, that's it's purely a moral decision. I do seem to support the underdog in that sense, saying that yes, they do need to come back, and they have innovated in terms of their core design, their RAM design, and their just the overall premise of their company is just to really help promote gamers and and actually want to really be a community driven thing. But that's just that is what I think. You're welcome to your opinion. I'm happy to discuss this further with people, but that's generally how I feel towards that debate. But yeah, that's the news, and this is quite an old article. However, it has to be said that that's kind of my wee talk on that. It is about a month old, this article, but it has come back with the GCN stuff, and the R9 Fury X seems to be missing some DirectX 12 features as well, which they're talking about diversity in the eventual marketplace of DirectX 12 GPUs and what feature set they do support, because the whole idea originally was they're going on about feature level 1, feature level 2, and the base DirectX 12, which base DirectX 12 is supported by most GPUs. To feature level 1 basically is most of the GCN architecture stuff and first gen Maxwell, and feature level 2 is second generation Maxwell. There's no AMD stuff there yet that does support feature level 2 on the AMD side. Even the Fiji chips don't support it yet, which is the Fury X, Fury, and Nano do not support feature level 2, and they don't support HDMI 2.0, which is quite an interesting marketing decision in my opinion, but I guess maybe they're not picturing people will be using them in HTPCs. And to be honest, HDMI 2.0 displays, well, they're reasonably few and far between at the stage, but they are still gaining traction, and there may well be some choices in terms of what you want to support, because there's not a lot of TVs with DisplayPort, in my opinion, are computer monitors. I was talking about someone the other day, and they're saying, why is there all these TVs with DisplayPort on them? And I was like, I wouldn't class it as a television. I would class that's a computer monitor, because you don't get Blu-ray players or home theater systems with a DisplayPort on it, do you? Maybe you do, but I haven't seen them around, so I can't vouch for that at all. So I'm assuming that you want to plug your computer into your DisplayPort monitor, and big displays with DisplayPort doesn't mean it's a TV. It's just, there's even one out there that I saw that Tech Syndicate did a review of, which is the some Korean 42-inch 4K monitor. Well, it is a television, because supposedly it does actually have a tuner in it, but it does actually support adaptive shrink technologies through DisplayPort with AMD. So that's kind of interesting too, and I've also had some other ones on there which support HDMI 2.0 and all that jazz, but yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. You can buy them for about 1,300 New Zealand, about probably about $800-900 US, which is still reasonably good for a IPS TV that's got FreeSync on it. That's pretty tempting, but I'm not sure I would buy a monitor that big, and it kind of does put me off a little bit. But that's just me, and I think there are definitely people out there who do want that for sure. I'm streaming at 720. Okay. So we're going to move on to something a bit older as well. I might not actually talk about that at all, actually. We're going to talk about Canon's new sensor. I saw this about a week ago. It's a 250 megapixel sensor, which is crazy. Capable of 19,580 pixels times 12,000 pixels. Mind blown. Holy crap. Holy crap. They said it's capable of distinguishing letters on an aircraft from 18 kilometers away. Now, bear in mind, aircraft leaders are pretty big. From 18 k's away, though, how clear is it? I don't know, but from that pixel count, that's amazing. And of course, optical zoom and talk about Lumia's 40 megapixel camera. Well, this is like 5 times that resolution. Of course, it'll be an SLR, and they're saying that it's an CMOS sensor, which is basically, standard read speed of 1.25 billion pixels per second. It's saying it's got good noise, even with the immense good noise performance. It can capture. It says shoots video that's 30 times sharper than 4K at 5 frames per second. So it's, the sensor technology, the built-in computer of it will be, relatively, you need a supercomputer to run that sort of, 30 frames per second video at that kind of resolution. But they basically, spy agencies and stuff, you'll be seeing them around. So if you want to try and hide something, it's going to be slightly more difficult now, in my opinion, to do that sort of thing. It's another TweetTown article, but this is it is going to be, it's quite a big sensor, so it won't fit on everything, but some of these security cameras definitely will have that technology in them, even though it would be very expensive. But I don't think, if they want to see something, then I suppose it's definitely the camera for it. You'll be seeing, serial numbers, on your on boxes and stuff from a few kilometers away. It's absolutely crazy. Seeing that sort of resolution for sure. Another piece of news before we move on to something else is this is a New Zealand Herald article. This is actually a British developer has come up with an ingenious way to get rid of annoying spam and remove them and send them back to the person in one fell swoop. It's basically, this is somebody who says supposedly they say you can change your email addresses to the one to the ones who to the email that you received your email address from, and it will send to them instead of send to you, which is crazy. And you'll be free of spam. And basically this has gone viral, and people have claimed that it works like a charm. This is a Daily Telegraph article on New Zealand Herald website. So that is, I'm not sure if I thought about that one before. I haven't really worried too much about spam. I don't really check my spam box on Gmail. And I don't get any spam really on Outlook. So I'm not particularly worried about that. Crazy though. I'm not, well, I guess not crazy, but I guess it's kind of common sense. The hardest thing to spot is something that's right in front of your face, a microphone. But yeah, it's definitely something to consider when you're getting a lot of spam from people. I think companies and stuff, would be more worried about that than others, but generally speaking, it's not too much of a concern to me. If it is a concern to you, let me know in the comments. Let me know if this idea is a good idea. I'm not probably going to do it myself, but it'd be good to know, to see what people think of that, because it's gained a lot of traction, a lot of popularity in the last while. This is only, it's 6 days old, this article, so it's reasonably old, but still something definitely interesting for sure. We'll move on to dailytech.com. I've not been to this website before actually until I shared it a few days ago on the Facebooks, and basically this article is saying is this anti-piracy ad, now keep that in mind, has been fined for stealing a musician's work. I have no words. I literally have no words for something like that. So in the first stage of the article, and it says the answer, it turns out, is no. The marketers of the anti-piracy ad approached independent musician Melchler Revelted, asking him to make the music for an advertisement that would exclusively be used on a local film festival. It turns out the big media heads, Mr. Revelt's, worked so much they're putting out over 71 DVDs and pre-movie ads in dozens of regions, including the US. He said never received any compensation and was unaware of his wanton infringement until he rewatched a dog copy of one of Harry Potter's movies and shocked to hear the track he had composed. He immediately contacted the Burma Sturma agency he worked for on the festival bid. They acknowledged that the work had been used and eventually promised to send him a list of what works had been in. They'd sent him an advance of £15,000, but never sent him that list. Burma Sturma board's John Consirum-Gertis suggested if Mr. his film wanted to get paid, he should sign with Mr. Garrett's label, High Fashion Music, under his sheen. Mr. Garrett's would then pocket 33% of his royalties in addition to the fees he already charged him. So this is the second part of the story. A lawyer, Arnold Engelfried, a lawyer specialising in internet law, the ICT Recht law firm, and told Torrent Friend in an interview this prompted TV news organisation Power News, which had recorded the conversation, to assert corruption. However, Gerritz later claimed he was speaking as a director of his company and is standard that a record company gets 1/3 of the mechanical royalties. And the incident led to new regulations and scrutiny of big media companies by the Dutch government. It also inspired him to sue for uncollected royalties. In June, perhaps seizing defeat, Burma Stemra agreed to cough up £31,000. He took the cash but did not drop his suit, and this week he was rewarded another £60,000 plus legal fees, while Burma Sturma was ordered to pay a fine £20,000 to promote artists' awareness of collecting royalties. So that's quite a case. I think it's probably important to know where your original works come from. Because I think they can be reproduced and replicated by different bands and probably even called maybe even a different song for that matter. And if you don't know the original artist, then this is what could happen. You could actually, in fact, get sued for using somebody's works that you don't know where it came from in the first place. So that's kind of interesting. I've never heard of something this big before. This is quite an old article. But I just saw it retweeted and stuff this week because the bottom of the article says the tough ruling was much needed dose of reality for big media, which has long sought to pay their way to punitive piracy legislation at the expense of citizen rights, all while stealing independent musicians' work. It follows in line with Canadian federal courts, which recently ordered big media labels to pay $45 million to independent musicians for stealing their work. So, that's even a bigger one. Absolutely crazy business going on with that. And I would like to, if you don't know, and if you're stealing it anyway, even though you got a hold of it and liked it, and somebody reproduced it for you, and you just never know what can go on with that. So that's definitely a big wake-up call, as the Daily Text said. But I know this is an old article, I just thought I'd bring it up because I have not heard of it before, and I just recently saw it getting shared, and that's pretty crazy stuff. So we're moving on to phones. A couple of phones articles. Sony Xperia Z5. This is another reasonably old article. There hasn't actually been much in the news the last while. talking about the iPad stuff. I'm not too interested in talking about that. It's been covered to death. But I know the Z5. I've got a Z3. So this is, whether it's worth the upgrade or not, I do not know. Also, there was an article recently about Sony phones not actually being that waterproof. Recently, basically, they've had this rating and they claim to have this rating, but they don't actually support their rating, supposedly. So that's kind of a concern, I guess, if you drop your phone in the water, if you want to take underwater photos, as you want to do with the underwater phone. But they said it cannot actually support it. So this is the rumoured and pricing of the rumoured specs and pricing of the Z5. And there's going to be a Z5 Premium, which will set you back £700, which is apologies for that. £700 for a 4K display. And suppose there's going to be the Z5, which will cost £100 less, which is still going to same specs, and then you've got the Z5 Compact, which will cost an extra £50 less. So they're saying that this will cost more than the top-end iPhone 6, which will be the iPhone 6s, which is coming in the next while, probably before the Christmas season. Doesn't matter what side of the world you are, it's still going to be Christmas when this comes out. So the pre-orders supposedly going for £629, £525 and £439 for the Z5 Compact. So whether that's kind of a big move for Sony. 4K is going to be the new thing. I remember when the 1080p came out with the HTC Butterfly, if I don't know when you remembered that one, and the 1440p came out with the G3. But whether that's going to be worth your money, Sony's not doing so well on the mobile. Sony sold off a lot of stuff recently, and they're not willing to invest in a lot of other things. So that's, Qualcomm's doing their job to keep up with the processor market, but having it in a phone like this is kind of makes you wonder. It doesn't even look that much difference compared to the Z3, but yeah, £700, it's a lot to ask for a phone, and that probably won't even be the top end storage model. So it's kind of a crazy ask, and I don't know whether it's a very bold move by them. I don't know whether it will pay off in the end. So that's that. Sourced by Engadget. So that's quite a good article. And we'll move on to Amazon, which came out in the last couple of days. Actually, 2 hours ago. This was posted on the eTechnics forums. Amazon has stopped making phones because I remember when they came out. They've announced that there's no more plans to replenish stock. They've officially sold out. They've been last at the US companies Silicon Valley have researched. Basically, Amazon people have lost their job for designing phones. In 2014, Amazon said they've lost $170 million. Basically, I don't know why they decided to make a phone. It was a bit of a fail. The Kindle Fire tablets supposedly are quite good. They are due to release a new one very soon, actually. I have heard, I don't know the article exactly, but I have definitely heard that they're interested in looking at making a new tablet. But that's 15 months is all it took them to die. The phone market, anyway, the tablet stuff definitely is not dead by any means, by the sounds of it. But yeah, basically everybody's just taking too much of the market, and and also even their dynamic perspective, which is their 3D capturing technologies. It doesn't have dual cameras, but it's got dual focus. I think that it has to be able to. HTC tried to do that with their One M8. The One M8 had that technology on it, which kind of wasn't too bad because they had two cameras. but this kind of is a bit iffy. So yeah, as I said, they hope they think twice before coming up against big phone companies as Samsung, Motorola, that sort of thing at the moment. So BBC provided information from the eTechnics forums. So big RIP to the Amazon phone. They didn't even use the Google Marketplace from what I understood. So it was a bit of, in an Amazon. I hope they get rid of the Amazon store, but their Kindle platform is fine. I mean, their Kindle phones, the Kindle app is quite good. So hopefully that doesn't go. But yeah, maybe keep the Amazon store to music. Maybe music. Actually, to be honest, music on your Kindle would be quite good. But like the black and white e-ink Kindles would be kind of cool to listen to music on something like that. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to say that Amazon has stopped making phones altogether. So now we're going on to monitors. This is Acer. Oh no, this is not monitors. I thought did I not put monitors up here? Maybe I did not. Okay, well maybe I didn't. But this is the new concept for a Lego type PC. I remember Razer. Was it Razer? I think it was Razer that last year or the year before at this the CES show, they wanted to make a modular PC by clipping in rather large modules into this. It was almost like a Thermaltake level 10 style case. I don't know if you've seen those before, but they have multiple tiers of stuff that they have on one main branch, and it's all kind of actively cooled, and it's a weird looking design, but I wonder if Acer was inspired by this. The interesting thing about this though is it actually has a mobile CPU, and it's 8GB of RAM, and it's coupled with a dedicated module. But they're looking at the new Maxwell Gen 2 series of architectures. They're actually external. You actually plug them in, and that's what makes the PC, because you can run it off the integrated graphics by the sounds of it, as you can see with the the built-in HDMI and DP ports. But they're going to be, the base module is going to be £200. But that's kind of a very interesting idea. It's talking about LAN rigs in particular. I think it'd be good for home theater PCs, people who want something low powered, or something that can play games, or even just a general computer who wants something a bit smaller. You can purchase Blu-ray readers and stuff like that if you want a Blu-ray reader. But it could. But yeah, some of the stuff supposedly is a little bit of £100 for a Blu-ray reader, but you can buy one for about £50 if you want to buy an external one. So some of the stuff is a bit premium, and it is a locked-in ecosystem by the sound. So it is an interesting idea. I think it is. It does look quite cool. I mean, when I looked at it, I was like, it's kind of like extending on the B box and the Gigabyte made the bricks, the bricks and the bricks Pro. Kind of an extension to that, because I remember the bricks Pro having a very horrible cooling issue with the built-in GTX 670 that was in it at the time, and it was all on one module, all on one of those modules there. They had the whole computer, and it got very, very hot and basically throttled itself to death. Well, not to death, but it wasn't a GTX 760 anymore. So having an external module may actually be the trick to doing it properly. Being able to remove the heat from the CPU and still having hard drive bays and stuff on the main box, and then having external boxes, for your audio DAC, if you want an audio DAC, and hard drive, and a GPU would be pretty cool. It says it's got built-in Wi-Fi and things like that, so that'd be quite good, so you don't have to use the Ethernet port. But I think that's quite a cool wee topic, quite a cool wee computer, actually. So we'll move on, and I don't have very good segues tonight. It is 9:30, but I've decided to record this because I don't feel like streaming it at the moment. So we're moving on to Seagate. They made a very bold statement. Now this is an issue for me anyway, but we'll read on to the rest of the article, basically saying that basically SSDs will not be as cheap as hard drives as they are at the moment. Now you can get some pretty cheap hard drives at the moment. You're looking at a 6TB drive for about $500, around 500 New Zealand dollars. That you can get one of those. But they're saying that they will not match that you couldn't buy a 6TB SSD for $500. Basically, is what they're saying. But because Seagate they haven't. I don't think they've released any SSDs. They did buy an SSD manufacturer, or they do have a partial stake. What was that? Oh, Toshiba. Not sure. I think it may have been Seagate or WD. It was one of the hard drive manufacturers anyway. I can't remember off the top of my head. Don't quote me on that. But they are saying that they're not going to be as cheap, and basically saying that the 20 to 1 is basically what they're claiming is the current price at the moment. And hard drives are no longer gonna be enterprise storage for very long anyway. Even the fast 15,000 RPM hard drives support 200 IOs per second, whereas you're getting 1 million per high-end SSDs now. And you're basically saying hard drives are irrelevant almost to data centers. Basically, for some real archival storage, hard drives are okay. But for mainstream servers and stuff like that, SSDs are where it's at in terms of that, so yeah, hard drives will definitely be on the down low. I own a hard drive. I definitely don't want to fork out $500 or so for a 1TB SSD as my second storage, but I may eventually do that. I think for my next build, I may look at an M2 SSD at this point. But KitGuru has their very good statements, their report of it. I'll read that to you. When it comes to storage capacity per gigabyte price, hard drives will still likely to be unchallenged for a few years, or many years to come. However, the performance matters when capacities do not. SSDs will replace hard drives despite of any per gigabyte price disparity. Those who need both performance and capacity will still use different types of storage devices for going forward, just like PC enthusiasts do today. That is very correct. I do agree that a lot of people do use SSDs and hard drives for kind of a combined storage situation, but SSDs will take over as a very high-end enthusiast platform initially, as everything does, and it will trickle down to the mainstream market. I think things are getting cheap enough now for SSDs to become kind of a main storage medium. If you find one cheap enough, $300-400, you can get a 500 gig SSD. So that's not bad. Under $1 a gig is pretty good in my opinion, for where it's at. I did actually have a thing on Acer. I just remembered about the Acer monitor. It's got an APS 3440 by 1440 panel. They're reporting up to 200 Hz. It's the G-Sync panel. It's one of their Predator series stuff. I think I got the article saved somewhere, but it's the lowdown of it. Didn't see the price. I don't think it's. Oh, maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not going to bother about it now. We're going to move on to our last article. Actually, I might talk about that at the end after this one. NASA. This is posted 4 days ago. This is going to be a 4K TV channel, the first 4K ever TV channel. This is going to be online, and it will broadcast in 4K. You will get 4096 by 2160p at 60 frames per second online. They do require you to have a 13 megabits per second connection for a stable stream, and it will also show up in traditional TV, which is crazy. NASA is currently in talks with satellite companies to have it broadcast, but no deals have been finalised yet. But that's 4K. Wow, that's pretty crazy to have a 4K TV channel, and NASA doing it the first thing as well. That would look beautiful, absolutely beautiful on your television at 4K. Even if you don't have a 4K TV, it will still look absolutely mind-blowing. I actually probably, well, I mean, once it eventually comes here, because it does highlight here that it will only be on only in America. Hopefully they do eventually broadcast it overseas. This is the Kitco article by The Verge. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired here, folks. But there's a full announcement there on the NASA webpage, but I found the Kitco article on that. So that's pretty crazy. 4K, NASA doing 4K broadcasts. I don't think it's the first channel, but that is very, very cool to see that sort of stuff coming along. Well, that is actually the last article, or the last article I had up. I will see if I can find that Acer monitor. You've got me interested in looking at that now. Where is it here? Ah, yeah, here it is. Here it is, another eTechnics article. This is the Acer Predator. This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. And it's a 35 inch, 21 by 9 inch, it's 2560 by 1080. Oh, whoops! I needed to correct myself on that one. And 144 Hz native refresh rate at 2560 by 1080. It's a VA panel, which is IPS, and apparently it can be overclocked up to 200 Hz. It is interesting to see the manufacturer proponent's process. Previously, you needed to choose between a remarkable gaming experience at 21 by 9 or a high refresh rate, because a lot of people like the surround view that 29 by 9 gives you, and to be able to have something like that. It is curved, which is quite nice. It supports G-Sync, as I thought. The retail price is $1,200. That's crazy. So I don't. Well, they're saying it doesn't offer a good value proposition. I'm not sure it does either. I mean, 2560 by 1080 is a 35-inch panel. You are probably going to notice that it is going to be 2560 by 1080. It's going to look a little bit clearer, but it's such a large panel. I mean, the refresh rate's nice. The IPS is nice. The adjustable stand is nice. G-Sync is definitely nice. But $1,200. That's probably $1,200 US. Maybe that may be Australian. I don't know, because eTechnics is an Australian site. So I don't know. Is it? eTechnics is. It's $1,200 US. It's probably going to be about $2,000. I'm not sure I'd pay $2,000. I mean, I was struggling enough to comprehend paying $1,200 New Zealand for the ROG Dominator, which I don't have yet, but I may look into in the near future anyway. So that's kind of a bit of a scary thing. That's just, I mean, yeah, that's kind of a. I thought it was a 1440p panel, but it's a 1080p, 2560 by 1080, so the extended 1080p. So no, I mean, if it was 1440, then that would be a real value proposition, because I mean, you are paying probably about that kind of money for a professional grade 3440 by 1440 display. So have having a gaming one for that price and being IPS, that's pretty good. But because it isn't, I probably wouldn't recommend it, I mean, for gamers, if you really want it. I mean, it is easy to drive in 3440 by 1440, but to me, it's not really worth probably the extra money you are paying for something like that. Because there's lots of gaming ones coming out at the moment as well. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that anyway. Alright, so thank you, people. This is the hardware diversity discussion. This is episode 8. Thank you all for coming along. I do have a new Twitch that will be linked in the description. I've got a new Twitter that will be linked in the description as well. I will update the other extremities of this channel as I get to them. But I just thought I'd record this, upload it, and get this first video out on the new channel, because today's the day. Fingers crossed, everybody, please, for my computer to start streaming again, streaming games. The Twitch, the computer gods will look down on me and go, yes, your computer will stream today. But it's just been heartache, because I thought, I originally thought the GPU was dead. Well, actually, I originally thought the power supply was dead, to be fair. Then I thought the GPU was dead, and then I thought, it worked, but now it doesn't work because I can't stream it correctly, so I have no idea about that. I mean, this is only 720p. I could have recorded 1080. Next one will be 1080. But cheers for that, and we will definitely catch you in the next one. Have fun whatever you're playing, and hopefully I'll join you, maybe. And yeah, catch you later on.